title was How Ethics Affect Decision Making, which leads into my question, how do ethics affect decision making? I decided to look into this mainly because there's not that much research done involving ethics compared to decision making. So I decided to look to see if there was a relationship between being an idealist and a relativist and how they make decisions, because athletic trainers come across many dilemmas daily, and how they make these decisions is kind of important. Ethics arise when anything can happen, good or bad, to an athlete when we have to make that decision. So everything that we do daily pretty much has a moral component to it. My subjects, I decided to do Rankin County Athletic Training Program. I ended up getting 20 subjects out of it, and this was open to students and certifieds, and like our other ACIs that we use, like Randy, Barrett, so any of them could have helped us. I ended up having only 4 certifieds answer and 16 students. I had 8 males and 12 females. And then out of my subjects, I had 20 that have actually taken a course involving ethics. It could have one component to it. It could have had a whole course just full of ethics. So the instruments I decided to use 2 and combine them to kind of get to my research question. This one is strictly dealing with dilemmas, and that's a sample question from it. There's 5 scenarios set up like that, and they're various scenarios. Like that one's about steroids. There's ones with returning to play, ones with athletes cheating, just various situations that we could come across. And it's also, the DATQ stands for Dilemmas and Athletic Training Questionnaire, and everything is based on a 5-point scale, as you can see. Strongly agree would be 5, and then strongly disagree would be 1. And so each one is set up the same way. Item 1 is asking the subject whether the character should perform the action. Item 2 asks if they agree to how they responded in the situation. And then item 3 is ask the subject how they would perform in that situation. And then 4 is just how, if they feel the scenario is important, and that was kind of left up to them if it's important to study, important in our everyday athletic training life. So item 1 and 3, I think, kind of gave me some good answers, just because it's item number 1 is putting it into somebody else's hands and how you agree to that, but then 3 puts you in that position. So that kind of showed me some variance, like they thought other people should do something, but then they wouldn't, or if they would or wouldn't. So, and each scenario is based off the 5-point scale, so each scenario can give you 20 points, and out of the 5, that would be 100. So to calculate their ethical decision-making score, it's out of 100, and you just total the sum up. And that score represents one's ability to make an appropriate decision about a morally toned dilemma in athletic training. And then my second survey tool was the Ethics Position Questionnaire, and this is just the first 6 questions. It consisted of 20, which was just straightforward ethical statements, and they chose to agree or disagree the same way. Strongly agree being 5, and strongly disagree being 1. The first 10 represent idealism, and the second 10 represent relativism. Idealism is one's interest in well-being of others. They believe harming others is wrong and attempts to do no wrong at any cost. Versus relativism is when people reject moral rules such as never lying or the golden rule, and they believe that decisions should be made based on the certain people in the situation alone. So they'll never handle the same thing the same way. So how do you get the score for this? It's the first 10, you add the sum up just like the other survey. 5 points, 1 point, and the first 10 is the idealism, and the second 10 is relativism. So my results. Overall, idealism was higher by just a slight amount. It was 35.9 to 34.05 with all of my subjects, and then males were just slightly higher on that one, and females were much higher on the relativism scale by like 3 or 4 points. Students also had a higher relativism score than certifieds, while certifieds had the higher idealism score. Males and females were only a point difference with the ethical decision making, so there wasn't a lot there. But I had some answers that were kind of off on my survey. On one of them where they're drug testing, 2 people, not just 1, 2, which was shocking, said that the trainer should select another player for a drug test, but then when they put it into perspective, if what they would do, they disagreed that they would just do it on that player. But put it in somebody else's hand, they said they should just skip that player since he was a star athlete. And then that happened on another one, reporting drug use. When it was in the scenario, they disagreed that they should report it, but when they were asked if they would report it, they said no. But they wanted the other people to, so. And then I had an interesting comment regarding ethics that I think could have had limitations on my survey, and it made a good point. It said, I believe ethics is a topic that could be very touchy. There are some answers that are marked as neutral because I think that the answer depends on a number of factors. And so I think that says a lot because it could have thrown it off because there's so many variants to how people believe that. So then my limitations, my population size was really small considering only 20 people answered. And then also online, people could have just clicked whatever they wanted if they did. But at the same time, if you were doing in person with ethical views, they might feel they're being judged. And considering I only had 4 certified to 16 students, it kind of threw off numbers to compare. So in conclusion, idealism and relativism didn't really alter their decision-making score.
Your instruments, where did they come from? I mean, they're pre-existing.
Yeah, pre-existing. So I just, both of them kind of relate.
And that question, you didn't change anything on the survey. You didn't change the scenarios.
I just added my own like age, if they're certified or not, just to kind of get a background information.
Were there any other responses that you were kind of shocked about?
Not really. It was just the item 1 and 3 people, when it was somebody else, they had a different opinion, but when they actually had to perform it, they kind of disagreed. So.
Do you think that happens a lot in real life?
I think so. Like, I think if you're looking at somebody else, you're like judging them, like, oh, you're going to do that, but then when you were put in a situation, how would you handle that decision? So.